mom was born in England and my dad is Jamaican, but that still inherently makes me Canadian. It allows me to draw on my background, whereas where I have family from the States, and a lot of people from the States will just say, I'm African American. Okay, great. But like, where are your parents from? Where are your grandparents from? And everybody just says Black African American. But we know our history is so much more than that. It's so much deeper. It didn't start with slavery, which is what a lot of people, that's their starting point. For me, it's growing up in a Jamaican household where my mom spoke patois to us, especially when she was mad. We had Jamaican food. And then I have a family from England and I got that experience. So it's a culmination of these different cultures and experiences that still allows me to say, yes, I'm born in Canada and I am a Canadian, but I can also draw on these other experiences and backgrounds to make me completely who I am.
Mm-hmm. All right. Skin, from your perspective, especially being and working in media, how do you interpret that title?
Um, I'd really want to echo what Stephanie just said, because I think being Black in Canada, it kind of encompasses a couple of different things. Americans really grab onto the fact that they are American. Like, there's a lot of Americans that I know that they don't really talk about their lineage, where their parents came from. It's not really relevant. They're Americans, and that's it. And there's so much more identity, I think, with Black people in Canada as to what their actual culture is, whether they're Nigerian, they're from Ghana, they're from one of the islands, and that with a mix of us being inundated with American television, because the majority of the influences that we see visually and what the general perspective of what we are like as Black people is through an American lens. And so, yeah, I think you're constantly trying to redefine whether or not that's relevant to you and your experience, how you've been raised, how you think, how you act, etc. And I think the two of those things, it kind of forces a constant redefinition of who exactly you are and how you want to define yourself.
Savannah, the same question for you, because you're not only a Black woman who rocks with the Raptors in front of the camera and behind the camera, but you're also a woman in a male-dominated industry. And I'm wondering how that looks for you, what that looks like for you, Savannah.
Like, I'll be completely honest, like, there's a lot of barriers. There's a lot of barriers just being a Black woman in general, of course, but then you take it to the work front. And, you know, I didn't just start off working for the Raptors. Like, I had to put so many building blocks in and really work my butt off to get to where I am. And I'm just gonna like be very blunt with that. You know, I was talking to another woman at the top of her industry in the States. Her name's Taylor Rooks, and she works for Bleacher Report. She's also a Black woman. Amazing. Every reference video usually comes back to her for like, we should do an interview style like this. So I had the chance to talk with her one-on-one, and we had a heart-to-heart, because it was like, wow, we can almost count on our hands how many Black women in media, in front of the camera, in sports, work in this industry. I know for a fact that in Canada, there's only two. It's me and it's Kayla Gray. Yeah. So it's a very tough industry, and me and her, we got emotional and we talked to each other, and me and Taylor Ricks, we said that, you know what, when you get to this, you know, point where you're in the NBA, you're reporting, you're doing what you want, you know, you're having fun with your job, you look around the room and you don't see yourself, and then you feel lonely, and it's not a fun feeling. It's honestly a heavy feeling. And, you know, to get into the room in the first place, you had to work twice as hard, if not 3 times as hard. And like, understand that your margin of error is so small, slim to none. You make one mistake, you say the wrong thing, people are so quick to like just cut you. And I thought that was like that for everybody. Originally, I honestly thought that. I was going in with blinders on thinking, oh, you know, if I was on, like, everybody has to work their butt off. Like,
digital advertising, like in this industry, as many people mentioned, it's not common to see not only white people, not only Black person, but Black women in digital advertising. It's something that was not common, and it started even when I was studying at the university. We were only 2 black black female in the class even. And what happened is that when I was looking for a job, I went through an interview, and the person who was interviewing for the job even went to tell me that you are never going to succeed in this industry.
Mm.
And I said, why? He said, you don't have the profile. I said, what do you mean? You can tell me that I don't fit for this job, but don't tell me that I do not have the profile to be there. And from that time, it really, I think there was a trauma that came out of this experience, because I felt like, why? I was always asking myself, why will he tell me that I don't have the profile? What is the so-called profile? I had 12 years experience in my country, like in project management. I went to school, in the same school as anybody will go. I had a master.
Mm-hmm.
What else would you need to get this job? So I don't understand what you mean by profile. If I tick all the, if I tick all the boxes to get the job, and you tell me that I don't have the profile. So I was very, very, I would say, happy to start working, and Ruben gave me that opportunity to start working, and I proved myself, and until I to the point of where I am now.
It's interesting because as an educator, we have stories for days. 25 years ago, when I stepped into a staff meeting, I was the only educator, Black educator, of a staff of 50 to 60 people. I looked around the room and I said to myself, why is there absolutely nobody like me in this room? Then I made the transition into administration, vice principal. And I went to some of my learning network or area meetings and saw 3 of 250 or 300 administrators that were my color. And I said, this really, it is disheartening, but my train of thought and my mentality is that it has to change. So one of the things that we need to do, number one, and for me as an educator, we need to continue to have forums like this for the general population. And as an educator, I need to ensure that young Black people understand that there are people in the education system that they can aspire to. So just my representation alone here is one of the most important things for me as an educator. There definitely has to be a systematic change to what we are doing in education. And I'll tell you just a simple example. The textbooks we read, the English books that we read, geography, history, what do they all talk about? They all talk about our Eurocentric focus or a white experience. So one thing that I do as an educator is I make sure that my staff clearly understands. You have Black students in your class, then you better have culturally relevant curriculum and pedagogy that they can relate to so that they can aspire to. If they have Filipino or Indigenous or people of color, make sure that your curriculum represents them so that they can be engaged and be a part of that process of learning. So that's one thing we need to change.
I wanted to start with Sandra. Just as far as microaggressions, is that something that you've experienced, and how do you manage that?
Yes. It's unfortunate, but yes, I have. And you know, I like you, I like to change up my hair. And you know, I like to change up my hair and like to do different things. And one of the hardest things is doing it on a weekday and then coming the next day to work. So I know you're talking about the weekend, but the fact that you actually even have to think about it is ridiculous. But as I continue to escalate in my career, to be honest, I thought about it more. The more I started to progress, the more I thought about it, the more I thought about Jesus. Now I got to deal with the people that I work with. And then I run people's business and their accounts, and they're going to be like, I don't understand how you're blonde today. Like yesterday it was black. Why is there streaks in it? And just these conversations. And I like I'm a carnival chaser. So when it came down to carnival time, that's when it went down to 22, 32 inches, all kinds of stuff, prepping for my flight. And you go to work because I don't know, like you squeeze every hour of work so you can get a longer time in Trinidad or Jamaica, whatever carnival you were going to. And people who are part of this know what I'm talking about. You squeeze out every day to be there longer, which means now you got to come to work with that long braid because you planned it this way, but now everybody's seeing it. And you have these crazy conversations like, oh my God, I didn't know your hair was that long. It's like, come on, you know my hair could not have grown 15 inches. Like your hair doesn't grow 15 inches. So why would my hair grow 15 inches? And it gets to a point where it's like, I don't even want, like, I entertain the foolishness, right? I'd be like, yes, I straightened it today.
Yeah.
Because it was just like, if you're going to ask a dumb question, I'm now giving you dumb answers back. And it was hard because it's like, well, then when you be honest and tell people that you have an extension in, then you have to now deal with, well, how does it get in? And then the touching of it. And that I'm not okay with, but we've all dealt with it. But it's like now it's like we have the internet, we have Google, like Google and figure out how it was done. Don't come up into my hair. It's so uncomfortable. And I just feel like there is a point where you don't have, like you have to just start to have this conversation with people. And I remember